Morning, everybody. It is Monday the 30th, I think. Yeah, Monday the 30th. Christmas is right around the corner. It's going to be a lovely birthday. There's not a lot going on just yet. It's about 7:30, 8 o'clock. It's about 8 o'clock. And there's been some progress with the Moderna COVID vaccination, 94.1%. They asked for emergency FDA approval. They will be the first of three companies. The one I was betting on was Sorrento. But they recently got a DARPA contract. The government is trying to reach out to multiple companies in this instant. And, that's good. What struck my attention and brought my fancy, and I'll try to bring it to you here briefly in an abridged manner, is an article that was written by Glenn Greenwald a couple days ago, or 6 days ago, almost a week ago. Assange, everybody's been calling for Trump to give Assange a pardon before he leaves, which I think is long overdue. Besides the legal framework by which he has made his defense. Because remember, he published documents. He didn't actually steal documents. And the publishing of documents that pertain to national security, it's a gray area, because you have things like the Pentagon Papers, the Panama Papers, the Afghanistan Papers, all of which were pretty much the same situation, where classified intelligence was given to journalists who then published. So we've definitely seen this before. It's not unprecedented. But a long forgotten CIA document from Wikileaks sheds critical light on today's U.S. politics and wars. The agency knew that their best asset for selling their wars was Barack Obama, the same reason so many in the security state were eager to get rid of Donald Trump. Remember, despite what ended up being being Trump's administration, he claimed to want to drain the swamp, and then instead kind of he drained it a little bit, filled it back a little bit, and it was kind of this back and forth. He was in his defense. He was a United States president. Okay, United States presidents are usually figureheads at best. They have to contend for, reasons that are legitimate. This was the framework that was built into the Constitution, by which every order of power was obviously checked and balanced by another order of power. It is to be expected that Congress and the presidency, the executive, butt heads. Right? That's how you have the healthy, constructive tension that is politics to get to good governance. That's the thing. You go through the politicking to get to good governing. The problem is that the politicking really never stopped. And I think part of that was definitely the antagonism of Donald Trump. I think part of that was the adversarial nature of not really only the Democratic Party, but of the GOP too. I mean, he was an outsider. Again, as much as people love to point out how his presidency ended up, look what's happening. Everyone's jumping ship. No one wanted him around in the first place, and when he showed up and rallied the support that he did, the GOP members that came to his aid, to his side, saw the benefits of him at the time. Now that that seems to be waning, they seem to be waning. It's not a difficult thing to truncate like this. That's how the nature of established plutocratic politicians work, and that will never change. And that's with any institution. You get in to fit in, and then you go along to get along. Right? And any sort of repudiation of that causes you to be expunged, or in the case of, for example, Cynthia McKinney, get primaried. Although that was from Republicans who put up a Democratic candidate. That's a whole other story. But let me go to this. The first time I ever read about WikiLeaks, this is Glenn Greenwald, was back in early 2010 when the group was still largely unknown. What prompted my attention was a small article in the New York Times which began this way. To the list of the enemies threatening the security of the United States, the Pentagon has added Wikileaks.org, a tiny online source of information and documents that governments and corporations around the world would prefer to keep secret. The New York Times explained that the Pentagon had prepared a secret 2008 plan in which they plotted how to destroy WikiLeaks, including by purposely leaking to it false documents with the hope that the group would publish the fakes and forever obliterate their credibility. A dastardly scheme which was ironically leaked to WikiLeaks, which promptly posted the document on its website. Any group that the U.S. security state includes on its list of enemies by virtue of publishing its secrets is one that is going to attract my interest. Same here. Again, I understand the purpose of national security. The problem is when national security is wielded against the American public in the self-interest of specific parties. And I don't mean political parties. I mean, it could be political parties, it could be individuals, it could be, it could be the whole entire departments of government. The fact remains is that the idea of national security is to safeguard the function that is creating the security apparatus. So don't tell secrets about the security functions of the state, right? That I don't believe it's supposed to cover illegalities that are being committed by the state, whether it be against another country or against its own people. And that's something that I find it amazing that that's still debated, whether or not he violated national security. First of all, he didn't take the intelligence. He didn't steal. He didn't hack. He published. Again, not a precedent-setting situation. And then secondly, how else are we to redress the grievances that we have towards a government that is committing illegalities against not only people abroad but people domestically? You really leave the American citizen. You leave anyone with no choice. I was speaking with someone about ethical hacking. Again, want to keep pointing this out. Julian Assange himself and WikiLeaks did not hack and obtain the information. However, this is why we have the argument of ethical hacking that we do today. So, any group, list of enemies, piques my interest. That's my alarm. Okay. As a result, months before they made international headlines with publication of the Iraq and Afghanistan war logs and diplomatic cables from Hillary Clinton's State Department, I immediately investigated everything I could about the group's founding and mission, interviewed its founder, Julian Assange, and urged readers to help support the fledgling group, concluding that one of the last avenues to uncover government and other elite secrets are whistleblowers and organizations that enable them. WikiLeaks is one of the world's most effective such groups, and it's thus no surprise that they're under such sustained attacks. The reason for my conclusion was that WikiLeaks had been exposing incriminating secrets of corrupt power centers for years. The technology they pioneered, enabling sources to leak to them troves of documents without anyone, including WikiLeaks itself, knowing the source's identity, was a major innovation in enabling greater transparency for the world's most powerful factions. But it was one WikiLeaks document that particularly caught my attention at first, a classified 2010 CIA Red Cell memorandum named after the highly secretive unit created by Bush Cheney CIA Director George Tenet in the wake of the 9/11 attack. Now, I'd like to point out, I myself have never heard of Red Cell teams until the post-9/11 world when I became interested in political intrigue and the intelligence apparatus and the functions thereof domestically, right? The things that the alphabet agencies do at home. One of the things I learned about was a Red Cell team, which are teams that are designed to attempt to penetrate and thereby test the security apparatuses of the state, whether it be physical facilities or cyber institutions. Now, although they say that George Tenet developed the team, Tiger teams used to do something very similar during the Vietnam era, so it's not like the concept is a new one. But to continue, what made this document so fascinating, so revealing, is the CIA's discussion of how to manipulate public opinion to ensure it remains at least tolerant, if not supportive, of endless war. I love how that's got a specific nomenclature. It's in caps. It's endless war. I mean, that's what it is. It's endless perpetual war. It is the proliferation of the American hegemonic system. And specifically, the vital role President Obama played for the CIA in packaging and selling U.S. wars around the world. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You're getting cringy. Always going to rag on Obama. First of all, I didn't write this article, so chill out, boo-boo. But secondly, we know that the optics of anything in terms of public support is far more important, at least to those in power, than the actual substance of a matter. So it makes sense that the Golden Boy, was seen as a effective symbolic representation of what they want the wars to look like, not what they actually are. In this classified analysis, one learns a great deal about how the military-industrial complex, also known as the Blob or Deep State. I've never heard of the pseudonym Blob for the Deeps. That is the... I get it, though, because it just absorbs and assimilates everything. But wow. Reasons how the agency exploits humanitarian impulses to ensure continuation of its wars, and what the real function is of the U.S. president when it comes, to foreign policy. I literally always sneeze when I record. What prompted the memo was the CIA's growing fears that the population of Western Europe was rapidly turning against the war on terror generally, and the war in Afghanistan specifically, as evidenced by the fall of the Dutch government, driven in large part by the electorate's anger over involvement in Afghanistan. The CIA was desperate to figure out how to stem the tide of anti-war sentiment growing throughout that region, which suddenly has dissipated, no one talks about anymore, particularly to shield France and Germany from it by manipulating public opinion. The agency concluded its best and only asset for doing that was President Barack Obama and his popularity in Western European cities. So this is, So this is a picture of the memo. CIA Red Cell is a Red Cell Special Memorandum, Afghanistan, sustaining West European support for the NATO-led mission. Why counting on apathy might not be enough. Well, let's think about that. Why counting on apathy might not be enough. What did I just get through saying? That no one seems to be speaking about the endless perpetual wars that we've been in, and under Obama expanded from 2 or 3 to 7. It is this sort of acclamation that's occurred in which the whole idea of Occupy and the anti-war sentiments during the Bush administration that followed through into the Obama administration, that tapered off and disappeared under Trump, all of that fell by the wayside once Trump got into office. And, one would there's no real way to claim that it's Trump's fault. Trump campaigned on troop withdrawal. Trump attempted troop withdrawal, had some success in Syria and Afghanistan. And then recently we found out that he was being completely duped and lied to as far as Syrian occupation troop movements going on in country. But they weren't even telling the man the right information for him to make the right decisions. When you have that level of adversarial energy, that level of disarray amongst your staff, it's no wonder the man barely got anything done, quite frankly. And he didn't help. That's the thing. Two things can be true at once. He didn't help himself rectify the issue of not being able to get really anything substantial done as far as his campaign promises, his positive ones. He should try to get that wall built and get me started on that damn wall. Anyway, just to read briefly. The fall of the Dutch government over its troop commitment in Afghanistan demonstrates the fragility of European support for the NATO-led ISAF mission. Some NATO states, notably France and Germany, have counted on public apathy, just not caring anymore, done, over it, about Afghanistan to increase their contributions to the mission. But indifference might turn into, and let's note that, indifference, it went from being supportive, right, post 9/11 war on terror, being supportive, to watching the reality of war unfold, to realizing we are now in a swamp that is a quicksand that is increasingly depleting our coffers and is becoming, irreversible. To really just, it seems like the politicians and our legislative branch aren't even listening to us have disdain for this war, so forget it. And at that point, they just kind of took advantage of it, and here we are. It's an amazing thing that people don't seem to grasp, that politicians are always listening to you. They're always watching you. They're always observing you. They're always taking note of how you react and digest things. So, when I talk to people and they often say, oh, my vote doesn't matter. It's not like they care about what, Oh, they care. They're doing everything in their power to cater to you, to pander to you. The thing is like they're pandering and catering to what they think you want. Because a lot of the time, most people are indifferent and apathetic, believe their vote or their voice does not count and does not express or seek out others who are congruent in how they feel. This is how you gather a voting block. This is how you conduct yourself on a grassroots individual level in politics. But I digress. Some states, notably France and Germany, have counted on public apathy about Afghanistan to increase their contributions to the mission, but indifference might turn into active hostility if spring and summer fighting results in an upsurge in military or Afghan civilian casualties, and if a Dutch-style debate spills over into other states contributing troops. The Red Cell invited a CIA expert on strategic communication and analysis, or analysts. It's too early. Following public opinion at the State Department's Bureau of Intelligence and Research to consider information approaches that might better link the Afghan mission to the priorities of French, German, and other Western European publics. To continue the article, the premise of the CIA Memo was that the populations of NATO countries participating in the war in Afghanistan did not support the war. What those allied governments and the CIA relied upon, as the above headline notes, was what the agency called public apathy, meaning that the war's low public salience has allowed French and German leaders to disregard public opposition, popular opposition, and steadily increase their troop contributions to the International Security Assistance Force. In other words, as long as the public stayed sufficiently inattentive, uncaring, apathetic, indifferent, laissez-faire, their democratically elected leaders were free to ignore their wishes and stay fighting in a war that the citizens of that country opposed. But what concerned the CIA most was that simmering dislike for the war in Western Europe would turn into active, concentrated opposition, as it did eventually, but that, Trump came in office and that tapered off, as had just happened in Holland, forcing the worst of all outcomes, that the governments fighting with the U.S. in Afghanistan for close to a decade would actually have to honor the beliefs of their citizens that the war was not worth it, gee golly, and pull out, leaving the U.S. to shoulder the burden alone, which pretty much is what ended up happening. Whatever happens, the one thing that the CIA cannot tolerate is having the leaders of allied countries listening to the voters. That's why the CIA has long preferred its partner countries to be ruled by tyrannies. No need to accommodate bothersome public opinion. But even in Western democracies, as long as the population remains sufficiently inattentive, the CIA reasoned, then their anti-war sentiments could be safely ignored. And it goes on quite a bit. I suggest reading the article. It is very thorough. And furthermore, go to Wikileaks, get your hands on that Red Cell memorandum. I might do another video on that. I should do more videos on WikiLeaks stuff. Anyway, it's early. I got stuff to do. Like and subscribe, and be well to each other.